Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. You need to say what you mean and you need to mean what you say. You need to schedule when you're going to do things for yourself because that will allow you to schedule when you can do things for others. That will allow you to better understand the issues at hand, the tasks at hand, the conversations at hand that you need to have or that you need to delegate to others so you can speak to them the expectations and lay it out. Because if the expectations are not vocalized, then the outcome is in question. Understand your schedule, understand the tasks, the conversations, the people that you need to speak with, speak to, work with, work for. What the hell's going on out here? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of Fueled by Spite. As always, I'm your host, Dr. James Taylor. And so today I am going to ask that you stay with me because I'm going to, God willing, I'm going to put a pretty little bow on this thing at the end. And it will be worth it, according to me, in my completely biased yet unbiased opinion. But, okay, so this is a weirdly perfect segue. We're going to talk about communication today. So it's going to be a stream of consciousness, if you will, because that's basically, I don't know if you've picked up on this, for those of you following along, but that's basically how these things are laid out. Hey, what's going on in, around, or about my life today or in the very recent past that I can pull on to, hopefully just extract some lessons, share some information with you. Hey, here's a bit of some dummy tax I've paid, or just a thing I've noticed. I'm setting up all this, right? To that camera, this little guy here, lights, putting stuff together. And I've got an outline set. Here's what we're going to talk about. And it dawned on me, if you will. Little backstory. If you're new here, I'm a chiropractor and a thought-provoking podcast host and dabbler in all things. So I've had lots of coaches, business coaches, chiro coaches, spiritual coaches, mind coaches, health therapists, personality people. I've sought the expertise of others, and I've been in the game long enough, if you will, that some of my cohorts, some of my associates, who used to do what I do and maybe still do what I do, but are also now going into a coaching realm, an advising realm. And we're going to take, I don't mean to pick on life coaches, but we're going to take life coaches for an example. I hate the term life coach because a life coach, anyone can be a life coach. There's no, to the best of my knowledge, there's no accreditation. You can wake up one day and be like, hey, I'm going to be a life coach. Now, some people wake up one day and they say, hey, I'm going to be a life coach. And those are great people. They've got a lot of stuff to coach people on. And they've taken the time to sit back and analyze their past experiences and pull out the important stuff from them and share them with others on how they can avoid the same mistakes, right? That's what a good life coach is going to do. They're going to take their experiences and try and apply them to you and explain them in a way that allows you to avoid the mistakes that they made. And then there's other people that are like, hey, man, nothing else is working out for me, so I'm going to be a life coach. And I'm just going to answer people's questions and see what happens. Those people suck. Okay, so, but for all intents and purposes, that's what any good coach is going to do. They're going to pull on their past experiences, guide the paths of their clients. But so that's kind of where this started, because yesterday I had a conversation based off, again, if you're following, based off a meme. So I'm at the Jackals game, Major League Rugby game, and they've got a doctor of chiropractic. They've got a doctor of physical therapy on the training staff. Actually, he was on a past episode, Dr. Josh, Alina Health over in Fort Worth. Great dude. And I showed him this meme, as this is from Real Close for Chiro. Again, I follow a lot of chiropractic stuff. Daniel Bai. Shoot, I haven't had the opportunity yet to work with him, but I've heard some great things about this guy too. But he's got this post up that I shared with Josh, the physical therapist, and the post is the D student from school is earning 3 times more than you. Why? Now I will tell you right now that I was not a dean's list student. I was not a D student, but I also was not a dean's list student in chiropractic school. But I'm a really good chiropractor. And man, I say this with all the love in the world to the people I graduated with, but I'm probably making more money than most of you and probably helping the same amount of people, maybe more people. I say this with love. I'm probably doing better than you. Not all of you, because there are some that are definitely doing better than me, but probably doing better than most of you. Anyway, now that you know, this isn't a time for me to brag. I can do that enough on my own. I don't need to broadcast it on the internet, although I have broadcasted it on the internet. So where are we going with all this? This all started, this being this episode, started with another quote that I heard. And man, I heard it once on Instagram, and then Zuckerberg showed it to me again. Somebody else reposted it, somebody else reposted it, somebody else reposted it. And the quote basically says that, what is it here? Come on. There's unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Whoa. Yes. Yes, they are. So, again, this is about communication. Okay. So, we've got the coaches. I'm going to tie this all together. I promise. We've got the coaches who are communicating their past experiences in an effort to help you avoid the dummy tax that they paid, to borrow a term from Dave Meltzer, Sean Dill, Lacey Book. But I mean, that's why you pay coaches, right? Is so you don't have to make those mistakes. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. If you don't lay out what you expect in any situation, there's a really good chance that the outcome isn't going to be what you wanted. Well, no shit. Well, yeah, I mean, I know. We all know. Yet we still do it. We still do it. So like I'm doing a lot of podcasts. Not this podcast. I do this regularly, obviously, but I'm also putting myself out there to go and be interviewed on other podcasts for 2 reasons. One, and the obvious one, is to share me. I want you to know about me. I want more people to know about me. Dr. Robeson, previous coach I had, one of the best lines I've ever heard. If you want to double your blank, in my situation, it was practice. If you want to double your practice, just double the amount of people you know. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. If I want to double my podcast, just double the amount of people that I know or that know me. If I want to double my influence, just double the amount of people who know me. So what am I doing? I'm putting myself out there. I'm doing other interviews on other podcasts, and you'll see them being tagged and shared and all this kind of stuff. Why? Because I want to help more people. I want to influence more people. So I'm going on other places. So obviously you're going to see my pretty face under somebody else's banner, and I'm okay with that. But in doing this, some of these podcasts are run very well. There's emails, there's pre-show notes, if you will. There's pre-show meetings. The other ones are like, hey, put your thing on my calendar and then hop on this website on Tuesday at 12:30 and we'll just go. Okay. Now I do a little bit of work. I'll check out a couple episodes beforehand. I'll see what it's about. I'll at least read the title. But again, some of these are run very well and they share their expectations with me beforehand. So then the episode ends up being better. I do that with the people you see on here. They know the 4 questions we're going to ask for, and because I want them to think about their answers and I want them to share genuine experiences with you. And if I just put it right off the cuff as they're sitting next to me here, we might not get that. I want them to put thought into it. I put thought into this. I want my guests to put thoughts into it too. But the same thing goes with any interaction you have at work, in relationships, at the grocery store, at the hardware store. I'm going to make a stop by Lowe's later. I'm going to attempt to gussy up this set, if you will. But so I'm doing podcasts. People are asking questions beforehand and some aren't. And genuinely speaking, the ones that give me a little prep, those episodes turn out better. Again, the same thing goes for management. Same thing goes for relationships. So I just passed my 10 years in business. I'm a pretty cool boss, but in my opinion, but at the same time, being the cool boss also makes it really hard to be the mean boss. And it's not even the mean boss, but to be the boss that, like, hey, this didn't go as planned. And it's your fault, but it's your fault because I didn't fully explain my expectations of how this task is going to be completed. But the same thing, like I'm still having to have a hard conversation. I remember when I was a kid, my mom and dad got into a huge fight. Oddly enough, it was a wonderful bonding time for my father and I. So huge fight. So I don't remember what it was about or what started it per se. But we just moved into a new house. Fight occurred for whatever reason, and in some way, shape, or form, Dad and I ended up out in front of the house setting up the forms to pour the concrete for the sidewalk. And there was front door, right? Some steps coming down, big porch, steps coming down, and there's gonna be a sidewalk that, let's say it came out, 8-10 feet, made a 90-degree turn, but we didn't want a 90-degree turn. We want a 90-degree bend. And so I used some geometry. I put a stick in the ground. I put a rope and a screw on it, and then just drew a quarter circle for the curve. And then we put the form along that curve. And Dad was like, hey, that was a really good idea. Thanks, Dad. But anyway, we're just core memory. Dad said I had a good idea. That's another episode. But go down the road, and man, I don't remember why I was privy to the conversation that they were having post fight. But basically, it came down to the fact that either mom or dad, I'm not sure which, but one of them didn't want the wall in the living room to be painted green. And the wall in the living room was green. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. I mean, it comes down to care and love of the people you're talking to, whether it's a work relationship or a relationship, or me and the guy mixing the paint at the hardware store relationship. I want this wall to be green. Shit, she wants it to be green. I fucking hate green. Again, I don't know who wanted it to be green, mom or dad, but one of them wanted it to be green, one of them didn't want it to be green, and it ended up being green. A couple months down the road, big fight ensued because there was an unspoken expectation. Same thing happens in the workspace. Things aren't getting done as quickly as I want things to get done. But also, when I tell someone to do a task, I don't say when I want it done by. I just expect it to be done. And it does get done eventually. I mean, this is the stereotype of the honeydew list. Ladies, you don't need to keep reminding him to take out the trash or to build the desk. He'll do it eventually. Don't need to tell him every 6 months. You know, that thing. Okay, anyway. But so how do we set ourselves up for success? See, I'm pulling this thing back in. How do we set ourselves up for success to have these hard conversations that in all reality, they're not really hard conversations. It's just the fact that we don't want other people to feel bad. So that makes those conversations seem more difficult than they are. How do we set ourselves up for success? How do we do this properly? Number one, you got to have a schedule. What does schedule lead to? Communication. Because if you can't hold yourself accountable, you can't hold other people accountable. You just can't. There's a dichotomy there that just can't exist, right? If you lie to yourself, you're going to lie to others. If you can't keep yourself honest, you can't keep others honest. If you can't trust your own word, others can't trust your word. You have to stick to a schedule. Now, the way the schedule falls into place here, not only just in the ether of, being able to not lie to yourself, but it lets you know what it is that needs to be done. So you take what needs to be done, you set the expectations for yourself, and that will allow you to set the expectations for others. So if we're looking at things that need to be done, the wall needs to be painted. What color should be painted? We'll get to that. Here's a task. These envelopes need to be stuffed. When do they need to be stuffed by? We'll get to that. Figure out what it is you need to do or what it is you want to do. And how long is that thing going to take? When does it need to be done by? And who needs to do it? Now, that thing could be, again, painting a wall. It could be stuffing envelopes. It could be a date night. That thing could be a conversation that you need to have. It could be an expectation that you need to share. You want me to schedule my relationships? Absolutely. Because if there's something going on that you don't like and you can't tolerate, no matter the relationship, work, love, grocery store, Subway sandwich artist, if you don't communicate that, then they're not going to know. Man, I really hope this task gets done by Friday. I have to hope it gets done because I haven't told them I want it done by Friday. Spoiler alert, they don't know you want it done by Friday. You got to know your schedule. And then when you have these tasks, these things, and again, a conversation is a task. If it's a conversation, a task, or something that you have to do, then it's in your schedule. If it's not something you have to do, if it can be delegated, then it can be put on somebody else's schedule. But it comes down to the schedule. Communication is done on a schedule. Something happens in the office. Something happens in your personal life. Is it something that is so drastic and so dire that it needs to be addressed right now? Then do it now. If it's something that could be put off to the end of the shift or the end of the day, cool. And put it off to the end of the shift, the end of the day. If it's a little tweak or a little change that can be put off until the team meeting, until some alone time, cool. Then there's your priority. But again, it's got to be addressed. Because if it's not addressed, it's not brought up, people aren't mind readers. Staff doesn't know that I want it done by Friday because I haven't told them I want it done by Friday. So I can't get mad at them when it's not done by Friday because I haven't spoken the expectations. Now, that all being said, going back to these conversations that you're going to have, you got to know who you're talking to. I am a direct person. I am black and white. It's really easy that way for me. I don't read between the lines very well. Boop. Juvenile joke. If you didn't catch it because you're listening to it, go check this out. Check the timestamp. Go check this out on YouTube. That was funny. But you got to know who you're talking to. If you don't tell me directly, I'm not gonna figure it out. Or if you tell me directly, but you don't tell me with the sense of urgency that it requires, I'm not gonna figure it out. If I go to one of my staff members and I say, hey, this wasn't done properly. I've got one that'll be like, okay, got it. And I've got another that will take it as an attack. That's if I say it like that. And I won't mean it as an attack, but it will be taken as one because I said it very directly. I didn't sugarcoat it and soften it for the receiver. If I'm giving a speech like this, now I can't see the audience, but let's say you're all sitting in front of me and I'm telling you how to talk to people. And if you don't, and if I'm delivering it as such as I am, and if you don't get the message, I'm going to take you off the hook. It's not your fault. It's my fault because I didn't say it in a way that the audience would grasp it. The audience could be an auditorium full of people. It could be an audience of one here in the office. But you need to know who you're talking to. So, to summarize, I told you I put a ball in this thing. I think this was really good. And I think you could pull a lot from it. And the reason I think you could pull a lot from it is because I put thought into this. I am coaching you, and I'm doing it for free. I am so benevolent. I put thought into this. Here's the dummy tax that I've paid. Here's the mistakes that I feel I have made in the past that I'm going to share with you how I intend to avoid them in the future. That's what a good coach is going to do. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. You need to say what you mean and you need to mean what you say. You need to schedule when you're going to do things for yourself because that will allow you to schedule when you can do things for others. That will allow you to better understand the issues at hand, the tasks at hand, the conversations at hand that you need to have or that you need to delegate to others so you can speak to them the expectations and lay it out. Because if the expectations are not vocalized, then the outcome is in question. Understand your schedule, understand the tasks, the conversations, the people that you need to speak with, speak to, work with, work for, and then know who you're dealing with. Know how to communicate with them so they understand the message as you intend for them to understand it. This was a quality episode. This is fun stuff. Unspoken expectations lead to premeditated resentments. That's a good line. There's a lot of stuff out there that totally goes unanswered, I don't know, just un. Because when it comes to this kind of stuff, if people don't share these experiences with you, then you're going to have to learn them yourself. And sometimes these experiences are learned the hard way. So when it comes to this, there are two types of people, especially in this situation. They're either idiots or they're uninformed. And after this episode, I guarantee you are no longer uninformed. But did it get in here deep enough? Do you have to listen to this episode again? Maybe. Listen to it on 1.5 speed. So that way it kind of gets through all this other stuff real quick. But again, the experiences I've had that allow me the information to give to you, the education I have gained, whether wantedly or unwantedly, to give to you. So that way you can learn here more by accident than elsewhere by design. That is my expectation for you. Right here on Fueled by Spite. Shit, this was good. Man, what a cunning linguist I am. See you next time. Like, share, follow. Love it.